no kwamomianka na awodi nipa pina ekwa tetimu pao amani pampempema wale agu odia sampa spiritual and herbal center awo womo yade se wombe muwenya basisi a yade bi tise stroke gonorrhea anabama waye mre e wampamu low sperm count womo wanu adro tatahwe ene je sam se seba ne sunsumu nsama womo telete se ye sunsumu aware anasa yare bi ne yade amawo pampabone anabo ana wanya abai amane e court case wobetu charge osisi a enam omadwuma panti ni pampempem ene be fo bukofie ekoye sunsumu nyuma edemom se mosini ene enzimani akabom dia sunsumu niama asie betu obi aje wukunu anasa woyere awaresem adwuma sam akwantuom nsam nina ayasumasem fabadan odia sampa spiritual and herbal center obehuyan of
New Koforidua ejoso ne konongo infinfin aye Ashanti region ehon ma number aye didi dwuma no aye 054 330 4976 anase 020 134 0421 054 330 4976 anase 020 134 0421
Odia Sampa Spiritual and Herbal Center. You be do us some amount.
Alright, abusia mama pa aba Odia Sampa TV. I am some for Odia Sampa ni. And I me share message bi ama. There be a me kan me say Farouk Al Wahab. Woye Abraham Moshe. Me kan say so no Bible mu no di go di no sa no so ne de e ba ne say political side na. Odikodi niama ema wa nkasa wo hu but aya asembisa mebisa me wo say adan na nkofo we mu ina wo honom na omuntumi emboa enye organization bisa ne ebe ya oman no betumi afa ne ntoma pa afra because abra me sha say me ye video efa ye nua Nana Kwame Bediakos eho na me sha say me kire ye nuanum youth no ne nkofo etie me niama bi no ama nkofo frɛ a efrɛ me ne asama omo kan kwadu mi bi kra na okra owra ho oman ne sɛ na esi kɔno no eye yemu bebre na eya nanso akwai te sɛ unhu ekwan a wonfa so na wonfa mwa but ye won nkofo bebre wo hono ma omo nim ekwan no the solution to the problem no. But here is the case, I don't know, so I mean, can say, yeah, boldness, now I'm the out. And one thing they say, idea crown, or no make a obey to say Farouk Al Wahab, or when you obey you. Now, so young don't then or try say or bad voice in your may be out. Now, young so no, young with the right decision to take. But here is the case, sir. Yeah, Kasana, almost voice out, am I no? At the end, Nana Yankasani ear put years uncle for no. Anka Nana Kwame Bediakos a unity. One said no. On mine when she shave you on my enquiry into a pesopa, no bad buana and she shall no corner puma bere. Abruabi crati baby uncle Bisa and saying for no Osika, Apocrabity baby uncle Bisa no. By you to know. I was so oba no be boy na efi age ya no lead to the right path yen ye solitaire exam say na usika unya fi na e ba ne say na unya we e ba ne say na unya we
ya ma yen jai
wo inti go for be so mo kuma ye na ya kasa ne ya ko bigger
richer than any country in the world
yenya bibia disem
Nana Kwame Bediakos
betumi democratic dispensation for that matter, electoral system for that matter, presidential election. But any other grand coalition parties
NDC sa amanyo kuo mienu we
a grand coalition your parliament, you were 80% waha, you were 60% or 40. You were government, you have the same numbers. No,
Nana 52.1, NDC 44.1. So informing the government, we must have a representation. The percentage NDC for Monfa, 4% no. Emra.
Diabetes, stroke,
Ministry of Fisheries, Ministry of Agric, Ministry of this, local government.
Solid.
Nanka before moving enough for defense, interior.
The system corrects itself. The corruption is checked by itself. Majority say, but yet they no. We do not do like that. Until majority takes all. Until when it is a band, it is a
winner takes all.
Winner takes all. No, a bay train, Zion train. Until so ye bibia, nobody seems to advise them.
Meanwhile, I didn't PP and a Hodi defense, a Hodi finance.
Yep.
Na NDC, a Hodi a Greek fish. Oya Bonia quickly, Obi Bechinatum, because Ebema Nabaya, you're unpopular.
Obaba Bechinatum.
One Chinatum, so a person, I unpopular, you know.
Yes.
Obeliki document, America.
Next election, people will see, say, no. We know how you are gentlemen. So at the end of the day, you have a balance in America for that. That's why you see the United States, you know, they vote on merit on issues on your work. In the Senate, you know, so you're Republican, they don't care. So Obama no to the Senate and Republican. But they want a balance and they vote on your work. No. President Netas na no form in the government nipa 120 na ono ani chest.
No apamo bia. Including omomti toilet so.
What?
Omti tool.
Yes, enti say ye jasa de na. We leave service civil servants no obi a oye yi no otene ba bi. Ne tam so an okọ. Enti wontimi change move people no around just like that. But this system, no, we have to make sure, say, everybody must leave, so that we all.
So after 8 years, no hungry people come into
come in
and amass wealth.
Inter their friend, shift in wealth, not shift in development. Into development agenda no does not follow. We don't continue because we have to shift the wealth. If we continue the agenda now, the money is following the agenda of what the other one started. But because we want to shift wealth, no, these people must also leave. So you have to create another wealth near the chase cannon. Yes, simple as that. Shift in wealth, not shift in development. And it gives us a very huge setback. Say, all the time, you draw country in the back instead of moving the country ahead.
Do you foresee any day this thing will change?
The day that will change, that changes can take place, you know, where one. Somebody say, you're for youth president. Say, oh, wow, so will be president.
Me moi, me was me the president, baby. I'm permanent to us, I'm for the crew.
There is a man for the youth president. And Kenya bad, a fatal, also TikTok black with beard. What I say? A mindset.
Okay.
A mindset. And I make say, so politicians, who country ni mobile, no who nipe wo mobile, say, wo drive now do traffic light. Now share a ma, omeja, omoma, at side of the road. Our motor dear now mano, the idea grow. This so sad. Ever sad do.
For this bunch of politicians, I barely think they will ever see that and recognize it. People have been calling for a third force. A quiet force, you mean a third force. Now yet to me the room abeboa. Is there any day we foresee that there will be a third force in this country? How can we do it?
Okay. I believe the third force you are trying, you all refer to, say you will be party B on Subabe stronger to say NPP and NDC. I think I'm correct, right?
Right.
In our times, what I do know and say, after every 25 years, call it 30 years or 35 years, parties in Africa, it winds down or it gets weaker. So there will be a change. The change is that in the next 10 years, in the next 15 years, NPP and NDC, both of them would have divisions. Quote it and quote me. NPP and NDC. The establishment, a generational movement. The virtuoso part of NPP at that time, in the column in the years of Liman's time, 80s.
The 79s.
The 79s. Giving way up to Adubuahin.
Which is Victor Usu Kwame.
Yes.
And
Pauli, those and coming up.
Okay.
Up to President Kufuor. Now President Kufuor to Nanado. So you see, sir, a certain divisions, whether you like it or not, it is not their making. It is the making of the time. And then you call it the branches. So the parties will still stand as one tree. But there will be branches. And when there is a branch, depending on the gravity, the strength now, it is like the power of a wind blowing, and a bit break the branch of a certain tree. And when there's a break here, NPP, NDC will face the same fate. Because post President Mama, where even in case I would say said, President Mama didn't build, in my view, too much or any of a kind of political children.
He doesn't have political best.
No best.
You have political best, I just say.
That you can see the focus of an outgoing president say, Nipa we ena semini ho succeed me and come president.
What accession plan?
Yeah, yes, I won't say that, but we show you who ye. What yes? Yes. Anything there will be after the group, the Ahoys, the President Mamas, the Siedun Ketias, all of them are virtue of natural disarmament. They'll be aged, they'll be old, they'll be tired. They can't be like that forever. They'll step aside. Now they need the host. There are Blackwell, the Sam George, and others. The new NDC will emerge. That time, the President Rollins and the NDC old, would have phased out. When it becomes to that point now, it is the youth of this side and youth of that side, Happy FM. Gravitations will take place. There will be pressure. So when there is a slight misunderstanding, they will divide. In any case, let us not forget, sir, it was a party existing before. It's like CPP. Where is CPP? CPP is grounded forever. They will try to keep the name CPP alive. One PP will be the same, NDC will be the same. There will be a reemergence of a new party. Now, the third force of our time that we're looking for, if you look at Mr. Indum, Pakwesi Indum, he made a great mistake at that time because he knew for sure, and the system and the two parties, their strength, their weight, wouldn't give him the chance for any third force to slip through and become and win presidency in this country in the next 10 years, not in the next 15 years. However, if at that time the energies were spent on the money, the resources, the power, the ability, no one, same called the sponsor MPs and Rodom for parliamentar, he would have had about 10 parliamentarians. If he had about 10 parliamentarians, that would have been the beginning of loosening up the so-called majority. What does it tell you? What it tells you is that NDC will struggle to have the majority, NPP will struggle to have the majority. In that case, they will listen. So the middle belt, that would have been the third force, will stand in and kick against. So nobody will be granted that easy access of majority takes all and the decision in parliament. So you have to lobby, or you have to go there and then seek to lobby. The third force suggestion, or what foreseen, is that if from anywhere that any political party would come and that party would not rush claiming to go to presidency, that will not happen now, but rather target, looking at the servicer MPC okrom haye, looking at poor worker constituency, looking at arrogance constituency, looking at say yama ministerial post, any ntimi lack of performance. Are you getting me? If we do that, let's say any party, be grassroots party, be so there, they are not prepared to go into government, but they are prepared to go to parliament. And then also, if Ghanaian individuals are prepared to go independent, this country, that is what will change this country. The dynamics of what you are all of us are seeking for. Good governance, devoid of
we should stop always thinking in the line, say,
in the line.
MPP primaries and MP.
Independent candidates.
We should get a lot of independent candidates in the system.
Who will stand toe to toe, Afrifa and them, and they and Afrifa. And what Yaka says, a Ghana parliament of 270 or more parliamentarians, and you obey 50 independent. And now say PPP will be, PMP will be. But I had the other crown. Parties in Ukraine or
I walk on NPP and NDC for the South.
Oh man, as I told when you are in solidarity. When you are say, was minion, we are in support. What you say? Say, Benya, sir, independent candidates. Again, I'm challenging also the youth in this country. Sir, the time has come. It doesn't take only as we think is the only money, because the electors have no utility. So they'll collect money and vote. But when they see somebody in their neighborhood, a youthful, a vibrant guy, like you, like him, like any other person else, now I calculate the agenda to lead the community and go to parliament. He will be neutral, he will be independent. The people might surprise. The presidency, they will vote for the bigger party, of course. But we'll see surprises and changes in the parliament. Until that is done, we have a problem. But if that is, we're able to do that and have changes, the root cause is the parliament. Because the president hasn't got a challenge, any pressure from the parliament. He walks in and walks out freely. State of the Nation address, opposition to me as Soroko, is not a solution. You are protesting, it doesn't solve anything. It doesn't affect him. Obeba Bayen State to Nation of address, of the nation address, or majority. But at the time, you what third force, as you are talking about, say, you what different parliamentarians. Independent. And now different, even small parties, doesn't matter. When we have that, about 50 our parliamentary, you see changes in this country. You see changes in this country.
The last time you were talking about a guy having a youth, a young guy who was also
Ethiopian.
Ethiopian. Now also there be Madagascar or a DJ, this jockey.
Yes.
No, but he came into the scene.
Yes.
And just lost an apple.
Also just say and a formal grand coalition. Also a political amateur.
We saw it in Ethiopia.
Yes.
Where Ahmed Abi.
Yes.
He came from nowhere.
Ahmed Abi was a rebel.
Okay.
At 15 years from Omoro tribe, he had been a rebel. Got the chance in trouble. When he came, look at how Ahmed Abi is doing. 2 years, 3 years. The prime ministerial. Ahmed Abi was part of only 2 managers to government. No Bush. The Somalia, Ethiopia, Omo problems. Those rebels. But Osadi system who said no. The only thing that can save this our country is grand coalition government. And when he came with that idea, it was an easy tree. And Wakomu in Abum and a young boy in the So he's just now issuing authority and you're talking about progressive authority and your partisan authorities directing affairs. And the system is checking itself. Everybody didn't lemu. Obia ye Juma. He called all the rebels. That what are we fighting for? Meanwhile, he was part of them. Opinion leaders, religious leaders, no rebel. Go back to your community and take care. Make sure the people will get water for them instead of giving them guns. And no child deserves to be in the bush with a gun. Don't kill yourself. We shouldn't kill ourselves. Here we are. We have only one Ethiopia. Papa, there is a friction, but reconstruction. Country is coming back. But look, economic acceleration, the growth of Ethiopian economy now. Ethiopia as a poor, disaster, famine, poverty nation is so about the fourth best economy on the African continent under 2 to 3 years.
Do you see any young guy ever imagine and say, okay, youth, let's move, and the youth will follow him?
The young guys, you know, about politics, you know, you ratio, medical cassette, omnu disache and cocrafon. Yeah, the problem on the woo. Said the youth in a bamunu, you dread the chunk of craft.
What?
Omuno ya wild chunk of craft for. But anyhow, somehow, I would also say we will not have it in a form of a revolution, but we will have it in a form of mental transformation. One day, somehow, somewhere, somebody will have a second thought. Somebody will have a different idea. Somebody will have a different approach. Somebody will have a different spirit. Somebody will have a different feeling for this country that we cannot continue to wound the country. Corruption, we'll deal with Ghana. And then the Ghana's corruption or corruptible practices, you know, or a resemblance, call it a twin resemblance of that of Africa. So you would say African corruption, you know, as I said. But there are some few countries in Africa that have also done very well in terms of corruption, how they worked on it. You made a back or refer from 79. No. Ghana corruption, it's talked about right after our independence. And he said, if you roll back, right after independence, you now Bruni I hand over. Bruni I hand over. But in going into our elections, and also right after independence, you know, we started speaking about corruption. Way back in the 50s, 60s, and we started what is called stimulation of the subject, because that time, no, not year, they started amassing wealth illegally. Corruption, to me, simplified, you know, a breakdown of discipline, not only in the public office, not only in the civil service, or not only, we have even corruption in our homes, in our churches, in our mosque. But whenever we be mentioning corruption, you know, you and I are thinking, or we focus on corruption, government, public officials, governance, executive, and most especially
politicians,
departments, agency heads, now, so far all the parties are Abedi Ghana, so from independence till today, call it the CPP, call it the PFP, YD Abanso, but PNP, Dr. Leliman. Now become NDC with the NPP, that is of our time. Obia manifesto, the biggest agenda was corruption. President Rawlings spoke about probity and accountability, social justice. When you add the three together, President Rawlings was not mentioning corruption, but he was mentioning probity, accountability. The two of them gives you corruption. Social justice also is the same thing. lack of social justice is also corruptible practices. Every day is how it works. On a normal basis of looking at what is corruptible practice and not corruption, one would say, your government official be, the budget be a man. Onko to adie, and answer on your contract to be my state. Obey your contract, you say, was 10% a media. 10% obey a very recognized, acceptable norm. All the parties in Ghana from post-independence. Omajia to say, see the contract in FIFA. As a FIFA 10%, Emia the Koto party ni votes.
Yeah, the finance party.
Yeah, the finance party. That is the beginning. That is where the whole thing originates from. Because it has become a permanent accepted notion, statutory, accepted norm, a practice norm, constantly featured norm. How do you control or official appointing or a department head? He's part of the party. He knows the contract we gave to a FIFA and Co. And the FIFA and Co brought 10%, which was channeled into the party coffers. Or Tony Fee, now or parliamentarian. You sell your house just to serve in a parliament.
We heard some judge saying that.
So if you sell your house and then go into politics, convince me why that the love for me, the love for your community, the love for services to the country. And then the Bama wa Japadia wa bre udu si Kenya. Now also wotong now the quiet primaries, which is called the biggest gamble of all gun games. One when what do you do? One no you know mabedahin. But not only Sam George, it has existed over and over. People went bank, collected loan from government banks, commercial banks, ADB, with collateral or with their name. Sometimes no collateral, sometimes with their big stomach, your mom loan or the real politics in Okoshi is Keniguye. So if the first year, every one year, the second time of 1 year, he is already indebted to people. It is an accepted norm. Say office now work on crown. Again, say government official be. I'm talking about the political hierarchy. Parliamentarian, winning election. Now she jubilation. As I was sir, I was so them crying quite to I'm telling you. Sir was sir jubilation. Jubilating on platform say we winning election constituency no what you answer kwatum so ko. I'm telling you honestly, because selfless services and our due so you have told me, convince you and I say happy only the obano o me wieska anambo obano yenimiza ne kai VW nadamfo bia nsi fiama no nadamfo bia amfa ne bank or college or abroad 1 year in office nadamfo de ne matre ene tua ne school fees 1 year in office ne VW no obi a che no Land Cruiser unidentified personality and we do not know the fellow. The church member be actually fee. And this country, I'm not talking about Africa today. We accept. Yakaso omunye den. Omunye access declaration. Papa, when you actually in excess of asset declaration after the serving.
Yeah, remember.
But what you say?
Happy FM.
For not to change. Corruption. Say a FIFA a pay school. Na misumi pay school. Na ye determine which school easy for FIFA to get, regardless say na aggregating ye as against mine, or mine weaker a FIFA stronger. Na betima penetrate into him. Corruption, my bibi. President Kufuor said, since the time of Adam. Rollins said, President Rollins said, probity, accountability, social justice. President Mills will say, corruption is with us, and you make sure so by fight, you will not give corruption chance in his government. Zero tolerance to corruption. Okay. Happy FM. Then a presidential candidate, whoever wants to enrich himself
should get into private,
should go into the private sector, and that corruption not my time. Now not do Baumia, not our time. It should the consistency and the build-up of all our presidential, including the speech of President Hillary Liman, including the speech of the military leaders, a Champon, a Kufo, President Rollins, all of them, a FIFA, your namesake, listen to them, Kotoka, all of them, listen to their speeches if corruption was not mentioned in their government as the main subject that they were dealing with.
The NTA too cry because of corruption.
And I'm sure say they have featured all of them consistently, prominently to today. In this house, sorry, Newahi. Where is that mosque? Where is that church? Now this time, no, Abeya West. It is more of a big social canker. Rotten one, bad one. Now affecting gruesomely and a wicked. And nobody knows how and where I bit must stop us again. Because there is no attempt by anybody, with all due respect, executive, with all due respect, judiciary. How on earth, so we have 270 honorable men. Now we sign contract. Na country no esa ko judgment debt. How on earth? So parliament pass it. Na council of state. Na presidency for advice. Ako cabinet. Presidency. Na nipa nyinara get to this point and later say something was fraudulent with it. Now state. How on earth? Say, you walk even to the extent, say, your education sector, your employment sector. Not corruption, Kwani say, Koto we Ghana, 10 cities, now the 20 cities. Corruption, they say, since you can't cry now, bedu hono. Saudi ye Juma. I like Nigerians for one thing. Nigerian former presidents. Yes, they steal. Yes, they are corrupt. They take money out. But good number of them, Ebia Juma, or your farms, or factories, or industries. Ghana presidents, Obia Nwa, Yebun ne factory. Ghana president Bia no free Hasia, Yehun farms. Ghana president Bia no company. Share Nigeria, Arik. President Goodluck. Is there any Nigerian who doesn't know? Sir Omunanidia. Ben machine near Jumo Krumo or come non-stop to America or South Africa and Nigeria for rate cheaper. Locally or sell. Yes. Obasanjo, the biggest farmer, crocodile farms, maize, rice, poultry. Or semi makwai MF poultry makrum hasi because team supply. Yet the animal dear in our farms. Why cocoa loss? Men am drink for whom only cocoa nibi. Why are laws on tomato, taxes on tomato, or no tomato farms? Why are laws? Air taxes. At the Mabosoka, but on one cracker engine. Say this is to take the money free. And I'm not referring only to the president, so I'm sorry. With all due respect to them, I'm referring to even within our own public and civil servants of high pedigree. You claim say, Oma country in Sika. You will never see their company. And they will never open a company. They will buy properties, they will never enjoy it in a foreign country. They will deposit physical cash, they will never be a beneficiary of that cash. They will never build a school. Say my wie, my servo, my sorry, na my school. Scanner me via me di bia yi we say na a kroni man enya bia ko out. But what I say? But we keep on saying, say, we are almost. Who is to bring the evidence? Who is to bring the evidence? And where do you take the evidence to?
He who alleges must prove. The last time in Nibi Kasayoka said, if possible, when it comes to the area of corruption, Yemran should rather be that he who is alleged to have stolen should prove that he hasn't, because in the first place, minister na yesu wonu na ewies kano. Wonu na nkrata no original na nkasa wonu ho. This won wi aya, onfa nkrata original na mra na yenhwem. In this case, what catch say me na me ni nkrata no so tumi no. Me ko famra, where do I go and bring from?
Baba, they bend them. Even before they leave the public office, they bend the office. They bend them. There are a lot and series of time at Ghana, government offices, government properties called buildings, Africa, Yashenu, up to today, fire department, Ghana investigators, police, all combined. Yintiminya one single property of Ghana banned. Yetimi the investigation about say, where there we have we know how it happened. It is not. It is only when the law is against the poor. It's only when law is against the weak. It's only when the law is against Obia, the voiceless. That is where Ghana law works. They are all forms of what? Corruptible practices. Student area school. Ebi na mekano. Government agency create me fawomu. They will not confirm you today. They will not sack you tomorrow. Obi cry afa no. Now team without employment letter for 5 years. Whereas say state in the law crown H3. Say it's an offense to engage the service of somebody beyond 6 months without confirming the person. It is a corruptible practices. Obi the application about to her oba obe pay juma. We inviting Doko Mamia a corruptible practice. Okwa year no akwu who take no their moba. Corruption in this highest degree. On you sika. But no be share hotel room. It is sad. It is sad. Do you understand? It is very sad. But Obi has on here corrupt to her. And the most interesting thing, this very country is one of the country or where worship, religion, Islam and Christianity. Friday masala be anya lockdown where Sunday churches be ma. Oh ma no on ye kan ho asem, including myself, including yourself. Ye na ya sorry mpanyim for. Yet na front row. So why are we still talking about corruption? Why are we challenging ourselves to bring evidences? Whereas in the glaring air, I saw you when you came, and you saw me when I came. But I'm different in 3 days. Ni pattern was it to me kase. Share and the color. Ebe toso. Say la free for gusu ye tuntum. Free. Say skapa ti many pa koko kama. Say ye color tuntum no nye fe. So the corruption, it is not any tree. And I first say, the white man that gave you the independence and left, our man hand over notes, or my oath of allegiance, and my all the oath be also say beyond. We have still not, and I mentioned this anytime I have the platform, say, until we begin to swear oath of transparency to attach to our public, you know. And accountability. Where must it end, River? It must end at the judiciary to prove. When a dicromasca 1 million, our jail that long? No.
2 years, 3 years.
2 years with clemency, presidential pardon. Sorry, you pardon on medical grounds, but will be the money kidney or the prison 20 years. What I say, continue any pebium the kidney in say, but you know. But Obianya diabetes because of your state official 2 years as your man on medical grounds. And a issue ya Africa de yanka because ya problem yan solve President Mills said you corruption is indeed so Obakaya Dutch president a Dutch embassy when His Excellency the President has a Ghana beyond aid or he prefer Ghana beyond corruption. Embassies abakunyinara ekasa in terms of corruption disrespectful to our presidents. You have one way or the other, one ambassador etima comment on corruption for Ghana. So Ghana would have been a nice country if people are able to do something with your corruption profile. India and Ebecho presidency cry no corruption. India. China eka say corruption okroman monshe na munja corruption. But be abakwa bobu say bia or the mawa not the corruption out. And yet yes you're corrupt. Anti index no abro no yakofane 10 best corrupt nation Ghana come in African continent 10.
What is the root cause?
The root cause I'm actually say disrespect and this lack of discipline or abuse of the system. Say or yeah any adinitum or yeah no nya punishment. It will serve as a deterrent measure. However, abroform your corrupt share they corrupt nations to make their countries richer.
Happy FM.
Any corruption or corruptible practices in any disadvantage. Let us get it clear. Let us get this one clear. It is a negative word in governance, administration. But I can also tell you the flip side of it. Countries have been corrupt, have used corruptible system, corrupting other nations to enrich themselves. It's also corruption.
Is that what they call lobbying?
They will use the word lobbying, but they know they corrupt the system. Chinese come here and corrupt our system, but to them it's lobbying, but it's corruption. Oba bema officials ka, na official waji, na odo yamano, contract any kwa so the more yamano. Okwa no aside the wo sika no percentage na again, aside the account who so mfanko to amount. To him it's a lobbying, but at this time he knows you are corrupt. That's why he brought the money back to his country. Commonsensically, dabe ni besu enyansa. Me say sikano siye jimi nja ewia yenwia. Ewia yemfanye bibi okroma. Me methodology no.
We know some
untimi njai.
But munya some di kogwa abwe no.
Monfa sikano embia adwuma. The long term effect, triple effect of it and say at the end of the day no, the money you stole, I will be able to say you've stolen this money, it would have gone into certain developmental agenda, call it a business, corporate body, investment, that will give job, employment to you and I. So our kids, your brother, my sister, all of them will not be crying for job. Nigeria from Obasanjo court da. Good luck yemfa ne court. IBB Babangida yemfa ne court.
Happy FM.
But sharing companies are in Nigeria. Babangida companies or Nigeria. Abdul Salam companies or Nigeria. But what I say? I said the richest man in Africa is Dangote. Yeah, share the shareholders and I say, Omwa, if you are no omu a year, you'll be amazed. At the Nuga Glow, show Omwa, sponsor no. But why they what a brand, Nigerian brand called Glow. President Biafra and man you say Lydia, but or the baby sword the year, or the boy. And the yes cana, they don't give a political birth. Ghanaian politicians, they don't give what is called a political birth.
What does it mean?
They don't make anybody up.
Happy
Because Nigeria forces them so we are or this can be man the boy need to be regimen. So they do things big. The country is so into employment but somehow they do. They try. Yet then they are raw cash, raw deposit, raw death. A good number of them invest outside and die and leave the money without the family being able to touch the money. That is the painful aspect of the whole thing. And the corruption, no. Yet there no area who samo. Yea no a court. Yea no a court. Yea no a parliament.
Your judiciary no corruption or.
Yeah, so one can say no correct. And they say we for Chief Justice Bia Oba. The first thing I can say, or best sanitize the judiciary system and a fair balance. Into that statement alone admits the fact that something isn't right. And I'm a boy. Obia no because we are corrupt too. What is Obia Kabida? What the president be admitted say yes, my government was corrupt. What be that? Now me bisa simple question say. You have an immunity that covers you. So you will never go to court when you're out of office. Under your watch, your minister, your department head, your chief executive has been brought to court and sentenced to court, to jail sentence. So lack of supervision, monitoring and control, and never means one yet. So you should have also been asked questions. Till today, no Ghana president said, obey clause
immunity clause now in 1992 constitution.
Yes. Abanye 1992 from independence at them. Lima tamne immunity no ho. Every family an immunity no ho. Military regime and military one. 1992 constitution. That's the constitution of our time that you know of. In recent time, last 20 years. But it has always been in there. Enti yancheno over corruption no. Or answer question. What is it Yankopo ye musa na sem. Onu ne bebi so asem.
Ama wo do so yachibi.
Oh, Papa, the Lula, Brazil, Cristiana of Argentina, okay, Benjamin Netanyahu, okay, Sarkozy,
Nicolas Sarkozy,
yes, France. Oh, you can't call them, you can't name them. All of them, one or the other. Helmut Kohl was brought before court.
Italian Prime Minister Yannis will pay designer shoes.
Berlusconi.
Yes, 720.
Berlusconi. He didn't to your man sentence. So I got solid them. Over corruptible practice. What you to me? I do cry there. Say you $16,000 can home. And no cry a day in the bar. What you to ye? Your president be no how could you not court to die? Until that day. Until that thing happen, no state official no will be through. It's as simple as that. State official no will.
You think the solution to a corrupt practices is that immunity clause in free.
The Nigeria court no near the issue in court.
Then the minister in court.
The minister in court. Because ministers no any chief executives no let's be very fair to them. Ya no masima reho. They send him to the sector, to the ministry. Now you the complimentary Adam will be their brain. You report to your master. Wanya reshuffle can and then the man suma webi. What are they saying? Wanya reshuffle can. Once your honorable minister, near started do nine soup or call holidays. What time ya reshuffle? What say? Adiana de Fakakabra now so yibi. And if such a person is brought before court, and an Kejia minister who said Domie Dilula, a man 8 years, and he is the development tool of the history of Brazil. No Brazilian president done better than Dilula.
But still,
yeah, didn't go too muye. You can find fee. Also, you require a chairman who Tony. You chain force. Kobun office, yini office. I didn't call court. I didn't hear the interview. Why? Nasty immunity ni dema President Biasuni. Nasty Lamuko chairman manifesto. My government will fight corruption. All fighting is say. All fighting say. Yem be the box of openness. Nana for a ma. Ladies especially. Emeka omo humiliation, embarrassment, harassment sexually, or in the good name of our big men, public offices, humanity. Yemye no meka. Very alarming. Very alarming. Obedne ne beda, I'm sorry, but a human onfano. And you're double corrupt. Obian who I didn't court over that issue Okrumha. Obian who I didn't court. What to be a da? What to be da? Please say she back on this issue. And you see, that is where we are. We have an adjustment problem.
Where is Anthony?
Me a multi-tribal.
But ordinarily, Utubai, is that correct?
Me to buy a woman to Islam.
Ya Utu Islam, Mubai Santini.
Somehow it's me Santini. Yeah.
Kwame, please let me know that I have completed Zion Basic School in Agona Swedru. How can I become international relations man from Kakrabe to Agona Swedru? Senior Ambassador, as much as he is very knowledgeable, he is very hilarious too. Solid discourse. And generally Santa Maria, one of my number trigger for me, the military, in fact, Supreme Military Council of Pawada Bay. Now, Yefanya dear. General number no will be a person joining Pawada Bay movement, new one. And this time, the old one, no, Akwabi Otukwabenya, or say the Buafu, or no, admit what just what where you will be a free. And then General Blake me. Yempo be our emotional disorder. And also, yeah, said any feelings then or act. We won't allow that. General Blake number is 0241 771 270. When you say about NPP seminar, nobody's forcing you. Don't come and be putting your NPP and NDC system on the platform. We want to that is going to change the minds of the people to think in a way that will better Ghana more than it has been for the past 30 years. If you know something, NPP and NDC system are trapping